On the buck stops here tonight, are independent candidates merely spoilers? Are they a waste of our vote? Well, the Prime Minister seems to think so. He said that openly in Mumbai, starting off a brand new debate.
The population of this enlightened city should be careful not to encourage, I think, these independent candidates because they cannot win. They are only spoilers.
The fact that the Prime Minister is raising this issue, the Prime Minister of the country, I think is feeling insecure.
I think candidates who consider that they are the main candidates are perhaps making a mistake. There is a great disillusionment with the political process. This massive movement for a no-vote campaign is reflecting that. I don't think they are the main candidates. I think I am the main candidate.
I approached few parties, like before this thing, but I didn't get positive responses.
Independent candidates haven't taken kindly to the Prime Minister's remarks, but beyond the rhetoric of television channels and a certain kind of middle-class romanticism, what can independent candidates really achieve? To discuss that, let me go across first to Milind Deora. Milind, of course, is contesting from South Mumbai, where there are a handful of independent candidates. Milind, of course, beyond your own constituency, the Prime Minister made a very categorical statement. He said independent candidates are spoilers. Do you believe that, in a sense, there is a lack of understanding that when you maybe perhaps vote for an independent, you're actually possibly ending up weakening a better candidate in your constituency?
Well, firstly, let me correct you. There's more than a handful of independent candidates in South Mumbai. I think there's about 20 to 25 candidates who are contesting from South Mumbai, and most of them are independent candidates. I think, firstly, Barkha, let me say that I basically welcome this kind of middle-class activism in politics, and I think the more the middle class get engaged in mainstream politics, I think it's a very, very good thing. It's very healthy for our democracy. Having said that, what the Prime Minister's comments meant, I'm not sure if he meant it specifically only to independent candidates. I think if you look at the political picture in our country, you have national parties on one end, and then you have independent candidates on the other extreme. In between lie regional candidates and regional parties. And I think the Prime Minister, before the press conference where he made that statement, at least I didn't attend the press conference, he was essentially talking about the Congress party and the UPA government's achievements at a federal level, and that why it's important in the times of a global economic recession when India is facing cross-border terrorism to have stability in the center. And we've seen what regional parties can do to destabilize coalitions or to blackmail coalitions to some extent. And I think he made that point about independent candidates in light of the fact that they will actually make governments a lot more unstable and could lead to someone's worst nightmare coming true, which might be something like a third front or a scenario like that. So I think that was the sort of backdrop in which the Prime Minister made those comments, which I agree with, and I think those are very important because a parliamentary election is not essentially about electing a mayor of a constituency. An MP doesn't have any executive powers as such. An MP is someone who debates policy at a national level. And each MP representing a particular party in the end determines which government will come to power. If it's a regional party, they in turn decide which government they'll support, which party they'll support. And in that, doing so, they actually cease to be independents or cease to have their regional aspirations alone. They develop national aspirations. So I think there's a lot of, the idea of independent candidates getting into politics, it can't really sustain itself in a Westminster model of parliamentary democracy, which is what India has.
Okay, all right. Milind, thoughts on that beyond your seat? The larger political philosophical point that emerges around what Siddharth is saying, don't equate the independents with the Don Quixote type figures. Milind.
Well, I agree with that, and I opened my remarks, Barkha, saying that I think it's a good trend to see whether it's, as Siddharth pointed out, the affluent class of urban India engaging with politics. I think even that's a good thing. I myself consider myself as someone who got into politics for the same reasons. when you talk about my seat in particular, firstly, I don't necessarily agree that people who are contesting in South Mumbai are going to only dent my votes. I think they'll probably dent my opponent's votes also. But I do believe that the issue I do have with this kind of sort of political process, one is of course the point that the Prime Minister made, that if someone can't win, and we know they can't win for several reasons. One is because you need a mainstream national party ideology. You need to have a national focus when you're fighting a parliamentary election. A parliamentary election is not a municipal corporation election. It's an election about national issues. And I think, for example, if I use South Mumbai's example, because I don't know what's happening in Bangalore South or elsewhere. Now, for example, in South Mumbai, one of my most prominent candidates says that she's taking a sabbatical to contest elections. Now, the problem I have with that is that politics is not about 1 month of an election period where you can take a sabbatical from your work and get back to your work. If you're really moved and idealistic about joining politics and getting into public service to clean up the system, you're not only taking 1 month of people's time, you're making a strong commitment to people that you want to give them 5 years of your life to work for them and represent them in parliament. And if you wanted to do that, you wouldn't talk about sabbaticals and taking a month off and going back to your job. So you can't have an escape hatch open when you want to get into politics and public service. And that's one of the basic issues I have with this entire sort of movement. But I think the Prime Minister's point is not just about independence. I think, Barkha, the larger point is about getting a government that will be stable. And when I say stable, it means stable economic policies, stable foreign policies, to deal with the global recession and to deal with cross-border terrorism. And that, I think, is the key that will determine how voters go out and vote for a particular party or a particular candidate.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. The voter will have the last word. Milind Deora, Siddharth Bhatia, Captain Gopinath, thanks for your time on the Buck Stops here tonight. Now, what are all of you saying on your computers as you write back to us in this program? What are you, the viewers, saying tonight? These are our best said emails tonight. Let's take a look at them right away. We've got Garima writing saying, independent candidates are good for the country. It breaks through the monotony of seasoned politicians and their games. But a differing view now from our next email today in our best set section. Vishal Khanna saying, thousands of independent candidates contest elections, but only a handful win. Can we please get more serious? This is a general election, not a popularity contest. All right, so those are our best said emails tonight. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, the defining image of the day.